when Captain Amrinder Singh is saying something, the government should listen. And the central government is not communicating with the farmers. That is the problem. If communication was to be resumed, I do not think this would happen. But the government thinks that under the garb of the Supreme Court having said that the laws have been put on hold, they can push the farmers and oppress them. That is not going to happen. And a protest is symbolic. But the protest needs to be made symbolic. Who will do it? It is the responsibility of the government. Some days back, the Prime Minister got emotional. Why doesn't he get emotional now? These are people of our country. These are not parasites like he would like us to believe. These are citizens of the country, and it is the responsibility of the government that the pandemic does not spread further. For that, all they need to do is call the farm leaders, talk to them, and tell them that they will be taking the farm laws back. 2024, they will come back.
But
that is what the BJP
Sujata
says.
ji.
However, whatever you said, I believe everything, and I understand what you're saying. I understand your concerns. But what happened in Hisar should be condemned by all of us. That should not have happened. And that is why the farmers have got agitated. Now, it is the responsibility of a government, to find solutions. We have chosen this government. You must remember that there is a huge trust deficit, and that needs to be rectified. Who will rectify it? The government. Who should have put the SOPs in place? Who should have implemented it? Who should have ensured that the farmers were following all the protocols when they held that protest? The government, because the government gave them permission to hold that protest. We should not forget that they could not have just come out in the open without the government permitting them. Now also it is the government which is going to permit them. Only then will they be able to come out.
The farmers are blocking the borders. The farmers are blocking the borders to
I can do a new mandi in Punjab without the permission of Punjab government.
Mr. Singh, the problem that we are faced with today, let's talk about that. You're talking about a lot of things, and I do not agree to a lot of things, and factually you're incorrect, because the farm laws that you're talking about being implemented, the contract farm law.
Have you read any of the farm laws? Have you read any of the farm laws?
Please. I have
there's a contract
discussed a
farming
lot.
already there in Punjab.
Can we just not get into
there's a contract
that?
farming which is happening even
Mr.
today.
Singh, I don't
The
debate
contract
in
farming
this
which is
manner.
happening in
Mr.
Singh,
You
you
are
the merits and the deep one.
Well,
Is that how shallow our politics is?
No, politics. Let politics not be shallow. Let's center, rectify its mistakes. Let the center talk to the state government.
Why should
also.
it? No. My point is, why can't these protests be played? Why can't these protests? These protesters are refusing to take RT-PCR tests.
Yes.
These protesters have not gone back. You expect us to believe all of this?
No. And what proof do we have that these protests are being funded by the Congress party or any of the opposition parties? That is not the point. Mr. Singh, you might be saying
there is
that,
enough and more documented evidence, enough and more evidence for that. Giving the farmer the choice, and you have a problem with that. So how do you have the interest of the farmer? That's the basic. That's the basic premise of the law. Are the responsibility of the political opposition of our country.
Look, when it's a question of livelihood, are you going to think about your lives or your livelihood first? If there is no livelihood, there is no life.
Now suddenly you're making now you're making this about livelihood. Ma'am, all these farmers have gone back. They have not only reaped their harvest, they have sold it in the market. They have sold their produce on MSP. They have also sold their produce on MSP, and then they are coming back after a sowing season, ma'am. So that is what is happening, and these farmers are receiving direct benefit transfer from the government also. So if you are so concerned about the livelihood, you wouldn't have fueled these protests in the first place.
Do we want our farmers to remain poor people? Is that what you're saying? Do the farmers not have a right to live the way they want to? You might keep saying they are being funded.
The government is for the people. The laws are for the farmers. And there is an underlying principle that there is action speak louder than the words. You please take up the numbers and pick out the numbers of the government's procurement under MSP year on year and year to date. And you tell me that MSP is going anywhere or MSP is not there. The world over, including the WTO, is putting pressure on us, as a nation to do away with minimum support price, and we are increasing our procurement under the minimum support price from the center as part of the government and as far as the FCI is concerned. So what kind of information or misinformation is being, who's going to take the guarantee that every single protester is vaccinated? Every single protester has got both the vaccines, and no protester there is positive with COVID-19. Who's going to take that responsibility? No, those who are organizing the protests have to take the responsibility. So the Congress Party, the Aam Aadmi Party, the NCP, the Shiv Sena, the Trinamool Congress, the 13 parties have to take that responsibility. Will they give an undertaking?
But why did you invite Mr. Singh if you're going
Will
to
they give an undertaking? No,
no.
ma'am. You don't need to get personal with me just because you have lost. You cannot counter my argument. My argument is a rational. As a citizen of this country, I am asking this question, and I have every right to ask this question, ma'am. You are nobody to try and point fingers at me or to try and get personal with me and lay blame that I am representing somebody. I am asking you factual, logical questions, ma'am. Those who organize a protest have to take the responsibility for the fallout. You can't blame it on somebody else. Plain and simple. I have to pause it here. We got to move on for the moment. Sujata